County students and parents. This is Miss Lay. I teach second grade at Fountain City, and I'm so excited to be here with you today to learn about science and to really dig deep into an activity that we weren't able to get into in the school year. So I hope you enjoy. We're going to go ahead and go through a couple of housekeeping things. So just for clarity's sake, this is a science lesson for second grade. It is our activity 4 for our summer lessons, and today we're going to be learning about how sound is produced. So it's going to be really fun, really engaging. You don't need to go out and buy anything. You can use materials that are found at your home. So we're really excited to get to share with you how sound is produced. Now the way that you can access these materials is by going to knoxschools.org. You're going to press on the Student Resources tab, and you should be able to find the activities and handouts there. And as always, we want to see the learning and discoveries that you all are doing at home. I know that these are different times, and this has been a non-traditional school year, but we would love to see the learning that has continued, and we just thank you so much for your partnership and all you're doing at home with students to keep that learning going. But if you are on Twitter, you could share those activities and learning at KCS Science. We can't wait to see all that you learn in this lesson. So sometimes different circumstances might make this video just a little bit difficult to understand. So what I would like to do is go over a few steps with you that might make it just a little bit easier. Step number 1, if you have closed captions on your computer, go ahead and turn those on if those are available. That should be very helpful. Number 2, adjust the playback speed. It's okay to slow down the video for clarity and understanding. Number 3, consider watching this in short clips, pausing it, listening, talking about it, and then watching it again. There's no problem with that. Miss Lay does that herself when I'm learning. I always go back and watch. I slow it down, so there's no harm in doing that. And then number 4, ask someone that's in your home to watch it with you. Stop it frequently and ask questions of each other. Sometimes we learn better with others than we do just by ourselves. So talk about what you've understood and what you've heard from the video. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and get started with our understanding of how sound is produced. So a question that I have for you all is, have you ever wondered how we are able to hear sounds? So if we're able to walk outside and hear those sounds in nature, if we're able to get in our car and listen to music, how is that sound actually reaching our ears? So let's take a look at these two pictures. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds just to brainstorm some ideas of how sound might reach our ears and how we're able to hear different types of sound. Okay, so I want to share with you some of my thinking. When I first initially looked at these two pictures, I thought, okay, the little boy has headphones on, and that's making the sound go directly into his ears. But it still didn't answer my question about how sound is actually produced. That just tells me where the sound is going to come from. And then when I looked at the picture of the dog, I thought, well, the only reason why this dog can hear so well, hear these different sounds, is because his ears are so big. But once again, it still didn't answer my question of how sound is produced and how we're able to hear it. So, in the next little bit, we're going to be discovering different ways that we are able to hear sound and how it's able to reach our ears. There's only one thing that we have to begin with, and you're going to find out what that is in just a couple of minutes. All right, let's view this picture together. And I just want to share with you what I have right here. I have a big bowl of water that I need to be very careful with, and then I have a little pom-pom. So I want you to think about what's going to happen when Miss Lay drops this pom into the water. What happened to the surface? What would you observe if you were to throw a rock into the lake or a stick? What would happen if there were raindrops outside in puddles? Just think about that for a second. If someone is with you, you can share with them what you think. If they're not, say it out to space. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so what I would like to do is I want to share with you what I observed and what I was thinking as I saw this. So when I dropped my pom-pom into the water, I recognized that the surface was very still. There wasn't a movement in the surface. It was just kind of smooth. But when I dropped my pom-pom, it first had a little circle in the middle, but then I noticed that there were bigger circles that started forming around the middle. And I thought to myself, I know what those are. Those are ripples or waves. I noticed that it started really small and then it moved outward into bigger waves. So when I think about that, I know that there's a connection to ripples in the water into the way that I hear sound and how sound reaches my ears. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of background knowledge as you think about that diagram. We have to have something moving back and forth, which is called a vibration, in order for sound to ever start. You have to have a vibration. That vibration then moves the air around the object, and then the air sends out these waves, just like my diagram here. Okay, it starts small and then it moves out. So that vibration is going to be our starting point, and then it's going to move out into sound waves. But the difference is a sound wave coming to our ears is invisible. We can't see it. Now, a water wave, that's different. We can actually see that visibly, but that helps us to understand what a vibration sound wave would actually look like. So, number one, you start with a vibration. That vibration vibrates the air around the object, and then those vibrations turn into sound waves that eventually reach our ears. That's how we're able to hear sound. There are a few vocabulary words that I would like to share with you that you're going to hear throughout Miss Lay's teaching today. Number one, sound wave. That's a wave that's created by a vibration that carries a sound. Those are invisible. Okay, vibration. Vibration is an object moving back and forth. Very, very important that we know that word. That is vital to our understanding. And then two other words that you may hear Miss Lay use. Volume, so that's how loud or how soft a sound is. And pitch is how high or how low a sound is. So I want you to think about that as Miss Lay uses those vocabulary words. Okay, on this page I have two different sounds that we're going to be listening to. Okay, two different objects vibrating. Here's the question I have for you. Are all sounds the same? Okay, just look at the two pictures and think about that before I ever play the sound. Are all sounds the same? I'm going to go ahead and play those. I want you to be thinking about that question. I'm going to play the second one. Okay, so let's answer that question. Are all sounds the same? That's right, not all sounds are the same. Some of them are very alarming. Some of them are very soothing, depends on your opinion of that. But the thing that we could all agree on, though, is that both of these sounds had to start somewhere, and they had to travel in the same way. So what is that way? What did they start with? That's right, V for vibration. A vibration had to start this sound before it was produced, and then it moved out into waves to our ears. Now, we didn't hear the same sound because there are different pitches and volumes, and the vibrations might be caused in a different way. But the thing about them is that they are produced by vibrations and then sound waves moving out to our ears. So let's go ahead and take a look at the very first part of our activity handout. So our essential question is, how is sound produced? Produced means made. What I would like to do to help assist you in your learning is I'm going to go ahead and read this paragraph here for fluency's sake for one time, and then I want you to go back and I want you to read it yourself. But I will be asking questions to help guide your learning so that you'll be able to successfully show your understanding. So let's go ahead and take a look at this beginning paragraph. Did you know that sound travels in waves? It's true. When something vibrates or moves back and forth, sound is made. The air around the object vibrates too. This sends out invisible waves that spread out like water waves. These invisible vibration waves reach our ears, and that is how sound is heard. Sounds can be heard through all forms of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. So 3 questions Miss Lay has for you. Number 1, what has to happen before a sound can ever start? Let's go back in our text and look. It says when something vibrates or moves back and forth, sound is made. So a vibration must occur before the sound can be made. What happens next as a result of that vibration? The air around the object vibrates too. Okay, why is that so important? You're right. This sends out invisible waves that are going to spread out like those water waves. And those waves eventually reach our ears. And that's how we're able to hear that sound. So now let's take what we've learned in our text and let's see if we can answer this question. It says let's use the text above or the previous slide to show our understanding of the following question. How are we able to hear sounds? Or essentially, how is sound produced? Use the space below to give a written response or an illustration. An illustration is a drawing. So don't forget to use that text evidence. That's very, very important. I want you to think about those 3 questions that Miss Lay asked. This should help guide you as you're answering this question or showing your illustration. Number 1, how does the sound start? Why is it important for that starting point to happen? And once a vibration actually occurs, what's sent out? How does the sound reach our ears? So think about those as you are beginning to show your understanding. All right, now we're to my favorite part before we get into our big activity. There are 4 instruments on this page, and what I would like to do is play each one for you, just a very small snippet. But what I need you to be thinking about as we are doing each instrument, or listening to each instrument, is how is the sound actually produced? Okay? How is the vibration being made in each one of these instruments? That is what you're going to have to do next on your next task. You're going to have to match the instrument with how the sound is produced. So let's go ahead and use our observation skills and our listening skills to figure out how the sound might be produced on each one of these instruments. So that was a guitar. What I would like for you to key into is this part of the picture right here. Miss Lay is not going to tell you the answer to how the sound is produced. I want you to use your problem-solving, critical thinking skills to figure out how that vibration is actually produced. Okay, we're going to move on to the next picture, and this is a piano. Okay, now I would like for you to pay attention to this part of this picture and think about how a vibration would be formed and how the sound would reach our ears. Okay, now we're moving on to our 3rd instrument, and this is a drum. Okay, pay attention to this area right here. What is being used to cause that vibration? How is that sound being produced? And our last one is a tuba. And what I would like for you to do is pay attention to this area right here. This instrument has a little bit of a different way that a vibration is produced and then how the sound is then produced. So think about the difference between all these instruments and how the vibrations are used to produce the sound. Okay. So what your assignment will be next is for you to look at each one of these pictures and figure out how the instrument produces a vibration to then make a sound. So what I'm going to be doing is reading each definition, and then I want you to decide which instrument has its sound produced that way. So it says this instrument produces vibrations by blowing air into a tube. Okay. The second definition says this instrument produces vibrations by pressing a key that triggers a hammer to strike several strings inside the instrument. The next definition says this instrument produces vibrations when strings are plucked and bounce off the hollow inside. And our final definition, this instrument produces vibrations when a stick or hand beats on the tight covering. So use those critical thinking skills to figure out how each one of these is going to be producing sound. So how the vibration is made and then how the sound is produced. Now you're probably wondering, Miss Lay, why did you show us all these instruments? Why is that so important? Well, I'm glad that you asked, because the next part of our lesson together, the way that we're going to extend our learning, is by creating our very own instrument. I'm so excited about this. I've already created my own and I cannot wait to see yours. Don't forget to share that with our Twitter at KCS Science. I can't wait to see these. But I want to go ahead and explain to you what the purpose is and what you are going to be doing. So using what you've learned about how sound is produced, you're going to create your own instrument. You're going to be thinking about how the sound will be created and how your instrument will look. Now please don't go out and buy anything. You can use objects that are found in your home. Some ideas might be a toilet paper roll, tape, paper bags, rice, seeds, even Tupperware, rubber bands, anything that you can use to create your instrument. But don't forget, you have to figure out a way to show that vibration. So I wanted to show you my model real quick. I don't want to give away too much, but I want to show you my model. So I have decided that I'm going to use a bowl, rubber bands, spoons, and M&M candies. Now I'm hoping that my spoons are going to help cause a vibration with the M&Ms, and that will then cause a sound to reach my ears. Now this was my initial drawing with my labels, but the cool thing about being a scientist and an inventor is your design can change, and mine actually did. So I can't wait to show you on the next page how my instrument turned out and how, as a scientist, inventor, teacher, creator, whatever you want to call me, how my ideas changed. So let's take a look at these pictures here. All right, number one, I needed to gather my materials. So I had my bowl, I had my rubber bands, I had my M&M candies, which I ate a few of those, so that was really hard for me not to do, and then my spoons. So I started out wanting to do my original design. But then when I started assembling it or putting it together, I realized that I was having a really hard time getting my rubber bands tied around my spoons. So what I decided to do was I started with 2 rubber bands and I thought about the guitar and our sounds that we listen to, and I thought, okay, I could use my spoons to pluck this and we would have a vibration and it would vibrate the candies. Well, I tried to, and it was just, I wasn't feeling that sound. So I added some more rubber bands, put some candies in the middle here, and then I'm going to use my spoons as almost like a drumstick in a way. And I want you to listen to the sound. I want you to look at my vibration. Without the vibration, I can't have the sound. So then I'm going to test out my creation and see if I enjoy the sound. So this is what I did. I started slow, and you can see those strings vibrating, and I can do it really fast. And you can hear the M&Ms making more of a sound as well. So I used kind of a drum, guitar kind of way to produce this instrument. Now, could I change this instrument even though it works? Absolutely. I could add different things. Right now, I feel like I like the way that it sounds. I like the vibrations that are producing those sound waves that are going into my ear, and I like how it vibrates the candies inside. So that's how I produce my own instrument using things here at home. I didn't have to buy a thing, and I'm going to eat those M&Ms later, so that helped me to create my instrument. In this picture, you can actually see the vibration. I loved using that picture so that you could see I had a vibration. The vibration caused the air to vibrate, and then I had sound waves that moved to my ears so I could hear my sound. So Once you have produced and created your own instrument, this is the most vital part of our project. You must be able to answer how your instrument produced sound. How were you able to hear that sound? So don't forget, you have to have a vibration and you have to figure out a way that those sound waves are moving to your ears. I know in my instrument that when my strings were plucked and vibrated, that it vibrated the candies inside and it bounced off and produced sound waves that ended up in my ear so that I could hear that sound. And then the last thing that you're going to be thinking about as you're doing your project is, after you've made your instrument, is there a way that you would redesign your instrument for a different sound? How would you do it? What I decided to do is I would add a covering, like a drum, to produce more of a vibration. I put it on there, but then I didn't really like the sound, so it's okay for me to change my design. But just be thinking about how different sounds could be produced. You always have to have that vibration. It's always going to move in sound waves, but there are different ways that the vibration can be caused. So now we're going to do a recap of our learning. We've come to the end. I cannot wait to see your creations, and I hope that this has been helpful to learn about how sound is produced and how we're able to hear it. I want you to think back to the beginning of our lesson where we use those ripples to show us a visual on how vibrations happen and how it moves out into sound waves. But we know that the difference is with sound waves is that we cannot see them. They move to our ears, but we cannot see them as they're being created. Vibrations have to happen first in order for our sound waves to be produced and moved to our ear. Okay, my friends. Make sure that you turn and talk to a partner, recap what you've learned, think about how sound is produced. You can even use your instrument to explain how sound is produced. Thank you so much, friends, for being with me today. Just as a reminder, if you decide that you want to share your instrument and your learning with us, please send that to KCS Science on Twitter. And also, if you go outside to use anything for your instruments or go and get anything, make sure that you wash your hands, keep yourself safe, and I hope you've enjoyed your learning on how sound is produced. And I will be seeing you all next year. Have a wonderful summer.